Okay, so the main thing is then I want to talk about AOSP devs. And I'd very much like to get your feedback. So from the people in the in the chat, at various points, I will invite you to give comments, what you think, and what you'd like to do with this this group. So what is AOSPDevs.org all meant to be about? So it really comes from this first bullet point. Over many years, I've been teaching AOSP to many developers, not just in Europe, but throughout North America and Southeast Asia, all kinds of places. So I visited many groups developing Android platforms. And it seems to me that there is a lack of what you might call a community. Everybody is working on the same problem, but they're all doing it from scratch. There is no sharing of knowledge, or very little sharing of knowledge and experiences here. And this is not a small group. Nobody knows how many people are working on AOSP directly or indirectly. Many thousands, certainly. Maybe tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands. We are not a small group, so we ought to be able to do something together. Why is there no such group then? So I've thought about this and I come up with the various arguments for and against, but my conclusion is that the main reason is there's just no obvious place where this group can come together. And so my maybe slightly optimistic hope for this is that AOSPDevs.org can fill that role. So let me explain how it came about, first of all. So it all began. So in September, there was a conference called Linux Plumbers Conference in Vienna. And following along this topic, which I've been talking about for quite some time now, I gave a talk titled The Search for an AOSP Developer Community. And I just bring up the slides. I'm not going to do the entire thing, but there's one bit I want to focus on. So the last slide, I gave these three options of what can we do to fix it. So option one, quick fixes, essentially carry on as we are, just do it better somehow. Little effort required to do that. Number two, things that need some effort, find someone or multiple someones to volunteer to take on a leadership role. And then option three, things that require substantial effort, create a not-for-profit organization, get sponsorship, get funding. So of those three, the middle one seemed to be the best one to go for. And since I was the person standing in front of the microphone at that point, I felt everybody was kind of looking at me. So I said, okay, yeah, let's just do it. And so as a result of that meeting, as a direct result of that meeting, in fact, we got together a bunch of people who were, some of these people were in the room, and others were at the conference, and there were a few others that joined later on. So the founding members of AOSPDevs.org are Amit Pundir, Bernard Rosenkranzer, also known as Biro, me, David Brasdil, Juhani Letimaki. Apologize if I mispronounced the people's names here. I'm doing my best. Karim Yagmor, Mateusz Kopashuk, Michel Rahman, Serban Kontinescu, Stefan Langfield, and Samit Semwal. So we've been working together, kind of trying to work out what to do or how to do this. And this essentially is what we've come up with. So we started off by setting out the things that we want to achieve. So reduce fragmentation in the AOSP ecosystem by sharing code, tooling, and knowledge. So really that's the overriding aim. Everything else is kind of falls out from that. But our basic idea is that by sharing information, we can make life better for ourselves and also for the ecosystem in general. Point 2 then, provide a repository for documentation, tutorials, and best practices. Okay, so this is all part of this sharing. We'd like people to come to aospdevs.org and find all of those things. Point 3, provide a neutral place to host open source code outside of AOSP. A good example would be board support packages and other common patches. This is a topic that we will come back to, I'm sure, later in future meetups. But the basic problem then is that we have AOSP, the Android open source project, huge chunk of gigabytes, many gigabytes of code, which is provided very, very handily by developers at Google. The problem has always been that that code is in a kind of closed ecosystem. In other words, trying to get code upstreamed into AOSP is at best tricky and most of the time impossible. So my approach to resolving this problem is to come up with a way of adding code to AOSP without changing it. So what currently happens is that everybody comes along, they say, well, AOSP doesn't do exactly what I want. I will fork AOSP, create my own manifest file, hack around here and there, and then people just need to do a repo init pointing to my new manifest file, and they've got everything I want. This is fine, but it's not maintainable. So forking AOSP is a really bad idea. And I want to get away from that. I want to get a move towards the idea of we take AOSP as is, and we just extend it in ways which don't interfere with the AOSP code base. I'm not going to go into any more detail on that because the details of how we're going to do that are still very much TBD. If anybody is interested in this area, please email me, contact me in one of the many ways you can contact me. So neutral place to host source code. Point number 4, provide communication channels where developers can ask questions and collaborate. Next, organize meetings online and in person. So here's the online part of that. Provide education. So we really want to be a repository for tutorials, workshops, and other useful information which will make using AOSP easier and more pleasant. And then the last one is a long-term-ish aim, really, but to provide a conduit between Google, the AOSP community, and OEMs. So there's a lot there to be done. We haven't done all of it yet, but we're working on it. So I'm just looking at a quick look at the chat channel. Right, okay, right. Some problems with Zoom. Okay, so what do we have now? So we have a website, very much a work in progress, but as I'm sure you know, you can go to aospdevs.org and you'll see what we have so far. So that's part of the sharing of information and education and all those other points. Next, we have a Discord server. We have AOSP devs. Last time I looked, which was about midday today, there are more than 210 members on that Discord server, which is nice. Looking at the chat, there's not too much chat, but there's just the right amount of chat. There's questions being asked, people answering questions. discussions about all kinds of things, exactly as I imagined it would be. So at the moment, we have 3 channels on Discord. We have the general channel, which is where you end up when you sign up to the Discord server from the aospdevs.org landing page. And that's where most of the discussion goes on at the moment. We have an introductions channel, which is a place where you can introduce yourself. So you can post a short bio, list interests, whatever you think is relevant. There is IRC AOSP Developers, which is a bridge to the AOSP Developers channel on OFTC.net. There's an IRC channel. And that is, well, that channel actually has existed on IRC for several years now, 2, maybe 4 years. It tends to be very much build specific, and some of the people in this logged on in Zoom today are part of that channel, I know. So it's the place to go if you want to ask very specific build questions to do with AOSP. Although I noticed that also happens on the general channel, that's fine. We plan to add more channels. So it seems to me that if we have more specific channels, then we'll have more specific discussions on those topics. So the proposal at the moment is we add in a kernel channel for discussions about kernel and also bootloaders. I know it's not a kernel, but it's kind of related. Also channels specific for Android TV and Android Automotive OS. We have the IRC channel, just moving down IRC. We have AOSP developers at OTC.net, which I've mentioned already. And we have an email, aospdevs.groups.io. So these are the kind of communication aspects of our charter, of our aims. Under meetings, well, we have, of course, the AOSP and AAOS Meetup, which, as you know, 6 times per year, every 2 months, starting in January. And I think the AOSP Meetup, from my point of view at least, it's been very successful, much more successful than I thought it would be when I first started this. And we will, of course, continue doing this, and we will continue invited speakers to talk about interesting topics, about technologies, hardware, and whatever. So the next one, of course, will be in January. I'd also like to investigate doing some in-person meetings. So face-to-face meetings are, in many ways, better than virtual meetings. So as part of this, at the next FOSDEM 2025 in February in Brussels, and I'll talk about this on the next slide, we have a dev room. In other words, we have a room to ourselves where a bunch of us can get together, we can talk about stuff, we can do presentations. Essentially, we can do whatever we like within that. Emphasize that FOSDEM is free, you just turn up. One other that I'll mention is DroidCon Berlin. I was just speaking with some people about DroidCon Berlin actually this afternoon. So DroidCon Berlin will be in September 2025, and this year in 2024, there was a very strong Android Automotive track, and there will be that same track, or there will be an automotive track at DroidCon Berlin, September 2025, and we want to make it bigger and better and stronger. I also would like to do some more community stuff there, as I did this year. And I would like to introduce some topics, some technical topics about the Android platform. So then we have the dev room, FOSDEM, we have DroidCon Berlin. Anything else we should mention? Please email us, aospdevs.groups.io, or put something into the chat. or contact us via the AOSP Devs Discord server, or contact me on, I don't know, LinkedIn or Mastodon or whatever you like. But yeah, if you have any ideas of things we should add to this list, please let us know. Okay, a little bit more about the AOSP Dev Room at FOSDEM. Possibly not many of you have been to FOSDEM. So FOSDEM is, in my opinion, the most enjoyable and tiring and exhausting conference that I go to on a regular basis. So it's held over the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, first weekend in February usually. And so this year it'll be on, oh, sorry, next year, 2025, it'll be the 1st and 2nd of February in Brussels. Guaranteed that the weather will be terrible. It'll either be raining or snowing, and usually both. But hey, you won't spend too much time outside anyhow. So the thing about FOSDEM then is it is for the community, by the community. It is completely free. There's no registration. You just rock up, go to any of the dev rooms you like or any of the lectures you like. There are no badges. There's no, just rock up and go to whatever you like. Really, really great. The only snag is it gets very busy. So typically about 8,000 people turn up. There are something like 60 dev rooms, I think, in fact, there are 70, I counted them. There are 70 dev rooms, so 70 tracks, if you like, over the 2 days. Plenty to do, plenty to see, plenty of people to talk to. So hopefully I sold that to you. So AOSP then, the AOSP dev room, this is the first time we've had an Android-specific dev room at FOSDEM. And we have the room just for Saturday morning. So we've got a half day. So I'd like to be able to put on a good conference there. We have space for maybe 10 short talks or slightly fewer longer talks. We'll see how that works out. There is as well as people to turn up and attend, of course, we're also looking for people to give talks. There is a call for participation page here, aospdevs.org, FOSDEM 25. Be quick though, the call for participation ends in 2 weeks' time, roughly, midnight, 1st of December. So get your ideas in as quickly as possible. Just saying, how am I doing for time? Yeah, doing quite well. Be nice to have as many people as possible from this group and anybody you know really who would benefit from this. Then, oh yeah, I should have done this earlier. Wait a minute. So here is the aospdevs.org website. Like I say, it's very much a work in progress. And again, I'd like to reach out to all of you to help us improve it. So here there are links to things like some things I mentioned. So the Discord link is here. This is our charter, our list of aims. Information about meetups, including a link to the CFP for FOSDEM 25. And then we have kind of placeholders for other components that we are currently working on and adding material for. So we have code, we have use, we have learn. So for the next few slides, I want to go through those 3 sections and describe what they are about and how it is you could help us. Naughty America. Hello, who said that? Okay, so the code page. The intention of this then is that it is pointers to code. In other words, projects could be on GitHub, could be somewhere else, don't really care, that extend or are useful to ASP developers. So currently, we have sections for what I call board support. So a board support package, or BSP, is all the code required to make the operating system, Android in this case, run on a given board. So there are BSPs, for example, for, well, as part of AOSP, you get the support for the Vim3 and the Dragon board boards and so on. We want to put into there additional repositories to support Android on other platforms. For example, Raspberry Pi would be a good place for that. Yeah, I know there are already board support platforms for Raspberry Pi. We want to be part of that. So board support, generic HALs. So the hardware abstraction layer is the chunk of code which interfaces between the Android operating system and the actual hardware. A lot of this is common between multiple boards, so it doesn't make sense to have a lights HAL for every single board when it's basically the same interfaces. So there are some generic HALs. Android distros. So I'm thinking here things like Lineage OS, Replicant, and such like. So these are fully fledged re-implementations of Android, typically for mobile phones, but they could equally well be for other platforms. And then tools, projects which give us tooling to make it easier to build and debug and profile and test all our products. So the intention in there then is that we will add in pointers to useful repositories for all of these things. So anything missing, please email us or contact us in any of the ways you already know. Next, there is a tab called Use. So this is meant to be all about using AOSP, how to make use of AOSP. Basically, it will be pointers to how-tos, short and concise descriptions of how to do something. In other places, it's called a cookbook. Okay, bunch of recipes which allow you to achieve certain things. At the moment, there's a link to the AOSP and AAOS Meetup projects page, which has how-tos for building emulator, images for the KDES Vim3, and for Raspberry Pi 4. Once again, this is obviously only a very small subset of what we could put here. Please mail us, send us suggestions, and we will add them to that page. And it doesn't just have to be board support packages. It can be anything that's useful. Anything that you can describe as a how-to, we will put the how-to here. Okay, so next we have a tab called Learn. So the idea of this is learning. How do you learn about Android? So this is more general. So whereas the use page is how to make use of Android. In other words, it's basically a quick how-to. It's a recipe to do something. The learning bit is meant to give more background information as to why things are done in certain ways. It's more general. At the moment, this page is kind of light on content. There are just two links, I think. There's one to the AOSP course materials. And AOSP provide free course materials on embedded Android, Android debugging, and Android security internals. And there's also a link to Doulos, and they have courses on embedded Android and also Android Automotive. And that's kind of there, especially because these last two other courses that I have created and I've been running those courses for 10 years now. And I no longer run the courses myself, but I still maintain them. And they are presented by the very good trainers from Doulos. So we want to add more details to this page. We're looking for good, up-to-date tutorials, workshops, to do with the kind of things we're interested in. So these can be blogs, they could be pointers to slides, presentations, videos, even books, although there aren't many books on Android. Once again, mail us your suggestions to aospdevsgroups.io or contact us in any of the other ways we can. Okay, so it's early days yet for AOSP devs. I have a good feeling about it. I think we will continue doing this. I think it will continue to prosper, but of course it depends on people showing up and making use of the resources we make available and also contributing to those resources. So we want to become the go-to destination for all things Android. Well, Android platform. I should emphasize we're not doing stuff with Android applications. Android applications is a whole different thing. Android applications, Android apps is already pretty well catered for. So Android platform is our main focus here. Some of the things we've talked about and we will do, I think, quite soon. A couple of slides back, I mentioned that we would like to add some dedicated channels to the Discord server for kernel and TV and automotive. We've just looked through the code, use, and learn pages, and as I mentioned, they are very much in need of content, so we want to flesh those out. And of course, I think FOSDEM is a big thing. First time AOSP has had its own dev room at FOSDEM. So sometime in the first week of December, we will be producing a schedule for the AOSP dev room, and we will start promoting that and hope that many, many people come along to see us. Other stuff that may or may not happen, I'm not committing to anything here, but people have mentioned it would be great to have a newsletter associated or keeping a track of big things happening in AOSP land. A jobs page might be useful. I notice a number of people on the general channel are kind of looking for people to do projects. So maybe a jobs page could happen. Some kind of forum where people can ask questions. So you can ask questions, of course, on the Discord channel. The snag is they're not really recorded in permanent format. They're not really searchable. So we might like to look at doing something, basically a kind of Stack Overflow, but essentially for this platform. So there are just a few things we've come up with. What else? Once again, let us know. Email us, contact us. We're looking for ideas. And I think that's basically, yes, okay. So, hang on a second. Okay, so that's aospdevs.org. Hopefully you find some of this interesting. What do you think? Anybody have any comments that you'd like to bring up right now? The floor is open, or the microphone is open.
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Okay. Is the web page hosted on GitHub? So maybe would it make sense to open it up for others to do pull requests instead of sending you emails?
That's a good point. It is already opened up So you can follow the link somewhere. Well, you can find it anyhow. Yeah, it's on GitHub. Send me a pull request or submit a pull request rather, and we can just include it.
Amazing.
So that is already part of it. I'm not sure. I'm pausing slightly. I'm not sure we have the link to the GitHub page on the homepage right now. Let me double check that.
It's on the homepage. It's the footer.
It is in the footer. Brilliant. I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
It's not on my screen at the moment, so I couldn't check. Super. Oh yeah, okay. So somebody says, what does AAOS stand for? Not many people know this. It's a secret. It's the Android Automotive OS. It's also called Android Automotive. But the official name is Android Automotive OS or AAOS, which is a horrible thing to try and say. Oh yeah, I see somebody mentioned that in the chat afterwards. Oops, didn't read that bit. Somebody says, how much is the course? I'm not sure I can discuss. Well, you would have to ask Doulos that. I am no longer in the chain of actually selling courses. So contact the very good people at Doulos, and you can discuss pricing with them. Okay, right. Yeah. So what do you think? Are we doing the right thing? Anybody have any ideas of what we should do or what we shouldn't do or whatever?
We should do YouTube tutorials.
YouTube tutorials or TikTok?
Yeah, TikTok tutorials.
Yeah,
exactly.
definitely. No, seriously. I mean, there are a whole bunch of very good presentations that have been given at conferences over the years. One thing that I think would be worthwhile would be to linking or categorizing them, indexing them in some way and linking to them. The snag with that is that they become dated quite quickly. But I still think that would be a good thing to do, because at the moment there are videos scattered all over the place, but there's no kind of central index as to which ones cover which topics. But if anybody wants to create some tutorials, of course, this would be a great place to post that. And seriously, why would you do that? Well, why do people give presentations at conferences? The answer is it tells people that you know about certain things. It's a way of getting business, especially if you're a contractor like me. Okay, anyone else?
Can you hear me? I'm not sure if you can.
Yeah, Victor, I can hear you. Sorry, Vitor.
So I was thinking, every time I think about AOSP, I always feel the lack of class diagrams, because sometimes it's hard to get to know how the classes interact with each other or how the dependencies go. And I don't see that anywhere. Could that be also something the community could focus on?
I don't see why not. Yes, that would be a very relevant topic. But so if anybody has some tools to create that or have already created class diagrams for their own personal use, yeah, it would be interesting to share that.
To create them manually, it will be a bit cumbersome, but yeah, if there will be a tool to do it mostly automatically, it will be great. If anyone could share that.
Sure, that'd be cool.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hi, Lucas. Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, what is the main communication hub? It's going to be just Discord or some forum or email list?
The main communication currently is Discord. So
Okay,
go to aospdevs.org and there's a link there you can just click on to join into the Discord server.
are you guys thinking about a main list?
We have the mail list. There's the AOSP devs at groups.io, I think, which is also mentioned. I think it's mentioned on the homepage.
Okay, and the homepage doesn't mention about Raspberry Pi 4. Are you guys planning to add that too?
So it doesn't mention. I missed the middle bit.
The board support doesn't mention Raspberry Pi, but you did talk about Raspberry Pi.
Okay, there is maybe it's a little bit obscure. So from the homepage, actually, so from the code page, there is. Oh, actually, there isn't. Yeah, okay. Maybe in the use page. Okay. It's on the, okay, this could do with some cross-referencing. Good of you to point this out. But if you click on this link, so using AOSP, this link here, then this link here talks about Raspberry Pi. Yeah, I'll improve that. Don't worry.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And this link here hopefully takes you to the GitHub page. Yeah, okay, maybe not. Come back to that later. Okay, so Srinas, again, I apologize for mispronouncing names. I'm not very good at these things. Given the size of Android builds, are there any build servers that developers can utilize? Have you an idea how much a build server costs? It's not a thing you're going to get for free. But you can, of course, set up your own build server on Google Cloud or Amazon AWS or whatever. Cost is going to be, let me think, something like $10 a day, something of that sort. Yeah, something like that. I think, actually, sorry, this is going off in a bit of a tangent, but let me just do this. Yeah, it is a little bit. Yeah, so I covered that in these sections here. You can run the build locally on your own computer, or you can do it on a cloud. Decent specification is going to cost you. Yeah, I kind of cover these topics here in this section, setting up a build server.
Maybe a comment.
Go ahead.
For open source projects, there is actually something you could get. It's called crave.io.
Okay.
So some Android ROM builders. Yeah, if you just go to crave.
CRAVE.
Yep. .io. So they do have some servers even with some AOSP wrappers.
Okay.
To distribute sources between different people so that not everybody has their own source tree. But they do probably, I don't know, B3FS snapshots or something. So it's kind of smart. But they don't do it just for AOSP, they do it for a lot of things.
Okay. Never heard of this before. That sounds very interesting. I'll check it out later on. Okay, how are we doing? Okay, I just want to go through a couple more things on the on the chat. So Sanjay says, does AOSP have some things for real-time RT Linux? So over past time, there have been some real-time Android implementations. Mteria in particular used to do one. I think they still do one for Raspberry Pi. So essentially, this is Android, but with a real-time Linux kernel. So the kernel is real-time. Android itself is still Android, so you can't really do much with Android. It is what it is. But you could write native apps running directly on top of the kernel, which would show real-time behaviors. So it's kind of possible. Depends on your use case. Okay, so Antoine Lee asks, is there any tool better than OpenGrok for AOSP source code reference? Okay, does anybody have any good tools for AOSP source code reference other than OpenGrok? I don't have anything myself here.
So I use source.android.com heavily. It's really good, as described in the comment. There's also androidxref.com as a search engine for AOSP source code, but they stopped integrated new versions. So they stopped at Android 9. So they only get Android 9 and Android 8. So it's not so useful anymore. androidxref.com was it?
Yeah, I guess cs.android.com kind of took over that slot. And
Yeah.
it works. I don't have any great problem with it.
But yeah, it's not open source. It's built by Google. For Google.
Well, okay, yeah, okay, I see your point. Yeah, it's not open source, so it's only useful for browsing the official release of AOSP. So it won't, of course, see any changes you may have made. Okay. So I'd like to open up the floor a little bit further for the next few minutes. I think, well, first of all, Stefan, you've already said a few things. So Stefan Lengfield is one of the founders of AOSPDevs.org. So Stefan, can you just say a couple of things about, well, how you found the journey and how do you think, yeah, how do you think it's all working out?
Hi. So
And also, why
yeah.
did you do it?
But why did I do it? Why did I go into this field? So hi, I'm Steven. I'm an Android and Linux embedded developer. So for 10 years ago, I started doing Yocto BSPs and Linux kernel patches for a company. And since 8 years, I'm at Innovex. We are consultant, Innovex. We are a consultant company and have a small department with embedded Linux and Android embedded. And they are doing for the last eight years Linux and embedded projects. Yeah, what should I say? And then, yeah, I started to get into this community bubble. So my colleague suggested that I should talk here in the meetup, and I did my first talk, I think 1 year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 year ago, and then I did talks. My last talk was at the Open Source Summit in Vienna. So my main interests are the graphic stack, so the Linux graphic stack and the Android graphic stack and media codec. I did 2 years of work there. Build systems, I like build systems. So the Android build system is quite a big and nice, nice. Okay, nice. It's a strong word, but it's a build system. It's a big build system. So graphics still like performance analysis. So I use Perfetto if I need heavily. It's a cool tool. Perfetto is nice. And so yeah, I stumbled in this community here, and then I saw Chris on stage with his call for action. And yeah, so I'm here. I'm joining this call for action. Yeah, and let's see how it works out. So I have hopes. I think it could work. So we build a stronger central place for this community. Yeah, to share code and share information, and I think it can work. And so I'm here.
Cool. And thank you so much for being here, Stefan. You've been instrumental in documenting and
Yes.
making sure that we have a list of things to be done, and that we do things in the right order. So thank you very much for your contributions.
Yeah, I come side of slid in the organizer role, organizing, documenting role. Yeah, no problem.
Which you do extremely well. Yeah.
I like to do that stuff too, and yeah, to bring the group together, so someone has a bit to document stuff and yeah, and order stuff. So yeah, everyone knows what is going on. And yeah.
Absolutely. Super. And okay, so Bernard, would you like to say a quick hello? Bernard is another one of the people who happened to be in the room when I was doing this presentation, and who volunteered to help us get the ball rolling. So can you just say hi, and yeah, once again, why did you want to do this?
Yes, hi. So I've been a Linux developer for about 30 years now, and I've been doing Android as well for about 10 years. My primary contribution to AOSP so far has been making it build with Clang, which pretty much everyone is doing these days. And my primary interest is really making AOSP, being the purely open source parts, as usable as full-fledged Android is these days. I think we really need something that is completely open, that we can all collaborate on without having to rely on any binary parts. And I think this is certainly a great place to also work towards this sort of thing. Just being able to replace some of the things that don't come with AOSP anymore. And, having a place to pull in open source hells instead of vendor binaries.
Absolutely.
And of course, that's not the only interesting things happening, but that's the primary things I'm interested in. And that's what I certainly will continue to be a part of.
Cool.
Unless people have questions, that's pretty much all I have to say at the moment.
Brilliant. Well, once again, thank you very much for helping us get this particular ball rolling. Yeah, it has a way to go yet.